All right. Hello, everyone. Salt here. Welcome to the video. Today we're going to be going over the Battacor. So I actually spent the last 10 minutes streaming to a black screen until one of the our clan members, GG Wanted, he told me. He's like, "This is a black screen, man." So, all right. So the Battacor is a primary weapon. It's a corpus slash sentient. It's like a corpus weapon that has like sentient technology on it. You can get it from the dojo. That's probably one of the coolest things about this weapon is that it's an easily accessible weapon. You get it right from the dojo. It is MR10 to use, and it's a pretty easily accessible weapon that can do Steel Path Endurance. So let's get into the actual build for the Battacor here. Okay, so interesting things about the Battacor is that the primary fire is going to be producing magnetic, and the alternate fire is going to be producing radiation. So it's interesting as far as that goes. It also has a unique trait where the alternate fire, of course I said it had an alternate fire, but the alternate fire, it will charge up with kills or hits, and then you can alternate fire and expend those. So let me try to explain here. With this weapon, you will have you have your normal aiming reticle right in the middle, and then next to that reticle you have these 3 ticks. And those ticks are going to be 100 damage, or 100% damage, 200% damage, and 300% damage. So when you're at 300, when you're at 3 ticks, you're at 300% damage for the Battacor for its alternate fire, not its primary fire. It's alternate fire. Now the Battacor has a specific mod, and that's what our build is going to be focused around. It's going to be focused on an alternate fire build that's centered around this mod right here, Sentient Barrage. So let me read it here. Discharge from alternate fire now has infinite body punch through. It no longer explodes. That's okay. We don't really care about that. Each enemy hit will refill 1 charge. So that's each enemy hit. No longer kill. You don't need to kill them unless it's the primary fire. The primary fire has to kill to get a charge. The alternate fire just has to hit to get a charge. So each enemy hit will refill 1 charge, and reaching a full charge, so 3 ticks, will increase the critical chance and critical damage of the next discharge by 300%. So very powerful. Now, that 300%, there's sometimes additive is actually better than multiplicative, and in this case, this works multiplicatively, which is not as good as additive. So if this was additive, it would just be 300 plus our base of like I think it's 32 base. So we would be straight up into red crits if with just Sentient Barrage on a full 3 ticks. But this is multiplicative. So instead of just giving us 300%, it actually just multiplies our base 32 by 300%. And so with just Sentient Barrage, it's not good enough to get red crits. You're only going to be doing like yellows and maybe seeing a little bit of oranges. So it's just not good enough. So that's why there is still a reason to be putting critical chance mods on. And I did testing to see if I needed both of them, because I was like, well, maybe with Sentient Barrage, I only need Galvanized Scope. Because Critical Delay is a 200% crit chance, but Galvanized Scope, with its conditionals in effect, is a 320% crit chance. So I tested first with Sentient Barrage and Galvanized Scope without Critical Delay, and it produces at maximum efficiency, so a full 3 tick, and then a full 5 stack of Scope, it's going to be producing like half and half reds, half oranges. To me, that's still not really good enough. I want to see full reds. So you have to have Critical Delay on to be seeing full reds. And even with Critical Delay, Galvanized Scope, and Sentient Barrage, you will see your crit tier frequently jump around. Like you will still be seeing yellows sometimes, or oranges, or reds. And it's because you won't always be shooting at 3 ticks. Sometimes you'll only get like 2 hits on an alternate fire shot, and so you'll only be at 2 ticks for your next shot. So you won't have that 300% effect. Or sometimes the scope stack will fall off, and so instead of being at all reds, you'll be at like reds and like a little bit of oranges. So even with all of these chance, like ways to get crit chance, you'll still frequently see your crit tier jump around, which is okay. That's okay. Just keep that in mind that it's not going to be 100% uptime on red crits. It's going to be a lot of red crits, but it's not going to be 100% uptime on red crits. The other thing to notice here is that we have no statuses on the weapon. Like normally on my builds, I put viral. Viral usually goes in these slots right here. And, why don't I have viral on? 18% status chance. That's okay. Let me take off bladed and sentient. Let's put on viral. Let's see where it's at. I'm just going to type in viral, put these two on. So 260-60 mods. These are the ones that give me status chance. And the primary fire is at 40%. So if I was building for the primary fire, I'd be like, that's pretty good. Like 40% is good enough for me to put viral on, right? Like it makes sense to have viral. But let's go down to the alternate fire, and the one that we're actually building this for is the alternate fire. See, this is the story, unfortunately, with the Battacor. The Battacor only has a starting of 8%. So even with 260-60s on, it's only at 17%. Now, if this was a fast-firing assault rifle, I might still say 17% is enough for me to warrant having viral on the weapon. The problem is that the alternate fire is not a fast-firing assault rifle. It's a very slow-firing, charged, sniper shot, kind of like what you said, Wanted. So 17% is not good enough. 17% chance to produce a single viral proc is not good enough. And that's why, for this build, we completely forego status. Now, viral is still great. If you can find an external way to produce viral, like maybe you use a hound that spread his statuses, a Dirija that spread statuses, a Helios that spread statuses, that's perfect. Maybe you can get viral in another way. But again, in these videos, I don't show external things. I just show the weapon itself. And the weapon itself does not warrant viral, unfortunately, the alternate fire build. If you were building this for primary fire, I would probably put it on, because 40% for the primary fire is good enough to have viral. That's good. So let me put these on before I forget what they are. Bladed and Sentient Barrage. Okay. So let's go over the mods here. Going to be going for Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot. Galvanized Scope for crit chance. Hunter Munitions for a 30% chance to apply a slash proc on critical. Hunter Munitions is pretty good on this weapon. The alternate fire, it says it's only going to do 992. That's without conditionals. You're going to be getting red crits, which is going to be damage multipliers and stuff. And so Hunter Munitions, the slash procs you produce from it are going to be very big. So frequently they will maybe not one tick an enemy down, but they'll 2, 3, maybe 4 tick an enemy down, which is pretty good. A lot of the times you are going to be one-shotting enemies, but enemies that aren't one-shot, if they get a slash proc on them, they'll probably just die from the slash proc. And also because this is a full crit weapon, we have limited. It's kind of the same thing. When you build a full status weapon or you build a full crit weapon, at a certain point, there's really not much else to put on the weapon. It's Serration is not really great, but there's not really much else. What else am I going to put on a full crit weapon? Heavy caliber? That's even worse than Serration. So there's a certain point on full crit or full status builds where you just kind of run out of mods to put on. And Hunter Munitions is good enough to have on the weapon. Even though it's only a 30% chance on a not-so-quick firing weapon to produce a slash proc, the slash proc is big enough to actually, do something meaningful. Serration for flat damage. That's just going to increase our criticals. It's going to increase the size of the slash proc. It does a lot of things. It's not super exciting. It's only 165, where our Arcane gives 360, but hey, it's something. At 165. Again, at a certain point, you just kind of run out of critical mods. So, Critical Delay for crit chance. Vital Sense for crit damage. Bladed Rounds for some more crit damage. We are going to be aiming with this build, so Bladed Rounds requires you to aim. Galvanized Scope requires you to aim. So we're going to be aiming in with this build. And then finally, Sentient Barrage. We went over that one already. And then the Exilis slot. Usually if you see me put Agile Aim in the Exilis slot, it's because there's really nothing else better. And that's the case for this weapon. There's really nothing this weapon needs in the Exilis slot. And in fact, if you wanted to save a Forma or just be cheap, you could probably run this without an Exilis mod. But I like Agile Aim. It gives a little bit of an effect. You move a little bit faster when you're aiming. I mean, again, if you want to be cheap, you can just not even have an Exilis, but hey, that's what I use. And then for Arcanes, we're going to be using Primary Deadhead. Primary Deadhead is going to give us a 360% damage increase. Gives us a 30% headshot multiplier. The headshot multiplier on this weapon is very low. It's like 1%, which is nothing. So, or 1 times, which is nothing. So, I mean, that's not really the issue. It doesn't really need weapon recoil. It doesn't really need anything here. I choose Deadhead over Merciless because, again, Merciless, it doesn't need anything. It doesn't really need reload speed. You don't need that on the weapon. So, I like Deadhead because the stacks fall off slower. It takes a full 24 seconds for a stack to fall off, where Merciless' stacks fall off a little bit quicker. So that's the only reason I'm really picking Deadhead over Merciless. So that is the build for the Battacor. What we're going to do is we're going to do a 10-minute Kuva Survival. Going to show it off killing some trash, killing some Acolytes. Oh, I should have did what I normally do. So because we're not mixing this with any kind of external factors, I'm just going to be doing this on a big dumb Inaros with no Archon Shards. No mods or arcanes on the Inaros that increase weapon damage. No Sentinel weapon, and no mods on the pet that increase weapon damage. That way we can just take a look at the Battacor by itself. And before we start, I want to show the little tick marks. So we'll get into this, and before I click the like the survival panel, I'll show those little tick marks. So let me see like a light part maybe. There we go. So you have your normal aiming reticle, and then to the right of it, you're going to see 3 grayed out tick marks. Those tick marks are going to light up as you either kill or hit enemies. For your primary fire to fill one of those, it's going to need to kill an enemy. And then for your alternate fire to fill one of those, all it has to do is hit an enemy. So keep that in mind. So to start, you know, our whole like gameplay basically, we are going to need to kill an enemy because we actually can't even alternate fire right now. I'm clicking the button to alternate fire and I can't alternate fire. You can only alternate fire if you have 1 tick mark. So to start our you know, charge shot adventure, we need to get a kill with our primary fire. So I'm going to use my 4 to double my armor, and that'll be the last time I use an ability.
Predictable. As expected, Grenier have shut down the environmental systems, sending modified life support capsules. Use these to sustain your environment or attach Kuba catalysts to be...
So I'll show you. See how I have 2 charges here? Now I can alternate fire. And if it hits 3 enemies, it'll get 3 charges. So I can alternate fire again, I can alternate fire again, I can alternate fire again. Oop, that time it only hit 2 enemies. Now I can still alternate fire, but it's not going to have the full effect of Sentient Barrage. Because Sentient Barrage only happens when I get 3 tick marks. So I can still spam alternate fire here. Let me go down this hallway and I'll just go, you know, bam, that hit 3 enemies. So that, now it has the full effect. See, full reds, full reds. Full reds, full reds. Oh, it only hit 2 people. Now I try to shoot it again, and it's at oranges. And that's why I'm saying like the crit tier will jump around a little bit if you don't hit 3 enemies. If you don't hit 3 enemies, it will jump around to like oranges and reds. Sometimes you'll even see yellows and oranges. There, it only hit 2 enemies. Even if you only hit 1 enemy, you can still alternate fire because you have 1 tick. Now, the only time you have to go back to primary fire, let me completely miss. Let me just like whiff a shot into the ceiling. See how it has 0 ticks now? Now I have to go back to primary fire. I have to get 1 kill. So now I'm back to 2 ticks. You only have to be at 1 tick to shoot, but I'm at 2 ticks now. And I can go back to my little alternate fire adventure here. So the only time you need to primary fire is if you completely whiff. If you completely whiff and hit nothing, you'll have to primary fire to be able to alternate fire again. And just remember that Sentient Barrage only gives you the 300 crit chance and 300 crit damage effect on a shot that has 3 ticks of Sentient Barrage. So like this guy will have no effect from Sentient Barrage because there's not a full 3 ticks. So with this weapon, you really want to be trying to line enemies up because you get way more effect out of it. So I'm going to hit this life support right here. Even not, like as you're seeing, even not at full 3 ticks. Oh, I completely whiffed there, so I got to find a weak enemy. I mean, you can farm a kill on these like Kuga Lancers too, but the higher you get into Steel Path Endurance, the more like basic enemies will have crazy armor. So even basic enemies on high endurance might be hard to farm a kill on with the primary fire. I mean, it's not horrible. It's a good weapon. It's just that, you know, the primary fire does way less damage than that charge shot does. So in high Steel Path Endurance, try to look for these like butchers, try to look for the scorpions. Every faction kind of has like a couple of enemies that are kind of really weak, like chaff enemies, like the butcher right here. It's like a single shot of primary will just kill him. So even on high Steel Path, those guys will be easy to kill. So if you need to get a single kill to activate alternate fire again, you can either just shoot at a Lancer for a little bit until he dies, or you can just look for one of these, like, you know, really weak guys like right here. Just go boop, and he's dead. So we have the Acolyte coming here. Where is this guy? I want to get a good full 3-stack hit on him. See, is this him? No, it's an Eximus. These Acolytes like to hide sometimes. There he is. So that was 2 shots on him, and he's almost dead. Oh. Got launched in the air, and I missed my shots, and I got to get a primary kill. There we go. He's dead. It was like 3 direct shots to kill the Acolyte, although he was kind of slippery and I was losing track of where the hell he was. So he probably took like... He took 3 direct shots to kill, but he also took like maybe 1 or 2 not fully charged shots. Just because I lost track of him, and I think I was just killing him through the pack of enemies a couple of times. Yeah, it's a little bit... it's not the clunkiest of weapons, but it's a little bit clunky. Like, there's a little bit of hoops you gotta jump through to actually use the weapon. Similar to the Stalta, where like the Stalta you kind of have to jump through a few hoops to use the weapon at its full potential. I completely missed there, so I gotta go primary fire, and now I'm good. Of course, if your aim is better than mine, you're not going to be completely whiffing shots as much as me. My aim's pretty shitty. You literally only have to hit an enemy to maintain alternate fire. I just sometimes completely whiff shots. You're going to want to play to your weapon's potential, full potential, which is going to be lining enemies up with this weapon. So like hallways are really good places to be playing this weapon. Rooms like this that are a little bit bigger, as you can see, like if I really try, I can line 3 enemies up in a row to make sure I always have full effect of Sentient Barrage. But sometimes that's not happening. Like that. I got a 2-stack there. I got a 2-stack. I got a 3-stack. I got a 1-stack. I got a 2-stack. I got a 1-stack. I got a 2-stack. I got a 2-stack. So, like, you know, most of the time there I was not getting a full 3-stack Sentient Barrage. 3-stack, 1-stack, 1-stack, 2-stack, 3-stack, 1-stack, 3-stack, 3-stack, 1-stack, 2-stack, 3-stack. So That's why I'm saying your crit tier is going to jump around. Don't purposely hold your shots to always get 3 stacks, because I feel like at that point you're going to be reducing your DPS. Like just just blast away. Try to get 3 stacks, but even without a full 3 stack, it's going to be doing a lot of damage. But try to be getting 3 stacks. Try your best while you're shooting to be getting 3 stacks. I think this weapon really shines because of its new player potential. Yeah, it's not so easy with a squad that likes to run around and do all kinds of weird shit. I agree with that. I'm going to grab this life support right here. Yeah, I think this weapon really shines for new players because it's a dojo weapon that's super easily obtainable. It's MR10, which, I mean, it's not the lowest MR requirement, but it's not a super high requirement either. And it has the potential to do Steel Path Endurance. It's a little bit of a clunky-ish weapon for Steel Path Endurance. Like, you do have to kind of focus on trying to line enemies up. But it can easily... I mean, this is one-shotting enemies. I know this is not really Steel Path Endurance enemies. These are kind of like starting Steel Path enemies at only 130. But even on Endurance, it'll be one-shotting enemies until they're like, a few thousand levels higher. Trash enemies, at least. Eximuses and stuff you're going to have to hit a few times. Getting staggered by everything. So we're almost at the 10-minute mark here. Hunter Munitions is not always going to be producing a slash proc on a hit. And it's just because it's only a 30% chance on a critical. You do have to keep in mind, though, multi-shot. So like it's going to be a little bit more than 30% chance. But there is a chance that an enemy on a direct hit is not going to be getting a slash proc. So we're at 10 minutes here. We're at 529, which is well above average. So this is a above average weapon. Does really good against trash. Does really good against acolytes. Against Eximuses, and we didn't test it against Thraxes right here. We'll go into Lua Conjunction next. But against Eximuses and Thraxes, it really depends if Hunter Munitions wants to bless you with a slash proc. If it wants to bless you with a slash proc, Eximuses and Thraxes will be quick. But if you don't get blessed with that slash proc on a hit, you're going to have to shoot them a few times. And the problem with Eximuses and Thraxes is they're just big, meaty enemies. So sometimes you're only going to be like at 1 stacks. Unless you can line trash enemies up behind them. So we'll do a quick Lua Conjunction next. Lua Conjunction is going to be a little bit higher level enemies, and they're also going to be mixed enemies. They just won't all be Grineer. So let's go into a Lua Conjunction. It's also going to force us to fight Thraxes. Thraxes are kind of like super Eximuses. So this weapon was struggling a little bit. I don't want to say struggling. It wasn't really struggling against Eximuses. It was just not as good against Eximuses as it was against the Acolyte and the trash enemies. I'm going to kill these little Drag Masters before we start. These guys love to steal my weapon. As you can see, my horrible aim, I think I just missed almost every single shot to these guys. That's why I'm saying, if you have better aim than me... I thought that last shot hit. I don't know why it didn't hit. All right, Salt, stop embarrassing yourself. Get this guy killed. All right. So I'm going to cast my 4 to double my armor. We'll start this here.
The Oracle Neural Sentry is attempting to purge you from this place.
See where the first set, there it is. God, not the Dragmasters again. Anything but the Dragmasters. So this weapon gets like exponentially stronger with groups of enemies. When you're fighting a low volume of enemies, like right at the beginning, those 2 Dragmasters took me longer to kill than like, you know, the past 20 enemies I just killed. So when you're fighting a low volume of enemies, because you can't get full effect from Sentient Barrage, because you can't always charge attack, this weapon is going to become a lot weaker. Of course, with these with these builds, we're testing the weapon by itself. You know, there is always the potential to run a secondary that maybe can kill single enemies quicker.
If you have a necromech, this would be an excellent place to deploy it.
Got my weapon stolen. Actually, that's something I want to test. I want to see if I get my weapon stolen. Yeah, I retain my stacks. Okay. That's pretty cool. If your weapon gets stolen, like if you were at like 2 ticks or 1 tick or 3 ticks, and you go to pick your weapon up, it'll stay at whatever ticks you're at. I think that Dracmaster was about to steal my weapon there. I don't know if that move set was to steal weapons or to summon dogs, one or the other. I hate those guys, Dracmasters. I hate them. I really like the Battacor though. It's a good weapon. Like we were saying though, it can be a little bit clunky. Like right here, I went to alternate fire and I'm like, oh, why won't it shoot? It's because I whiffed a shot without even knowing I whiffed a shot. Oh yeah, it'll kill without headshots. Yeah. Like if your aim is better than mine, like I kind of try to aim head height, and you know, hope that it'll get some headshots. But a lot of times I won't. So if your aim is better than mine, you'll get more headshots. But even without headshots, yeah, it'll slay enemies, especially if you get a full 3 stack. A full 3 stack on this thing is beastly. I mean, it's already, even without a full stack of a full 3 stack, it's getting a lot of damage. And it's killing enemies in one shot a lot of the times. But with the full 3 stack, you get that 300% crit chance and 300% crit damage multiplier. So a shot from a full 3 stack is gigantic. So try to play to the weapon's full potential. Try to play like in a hallway or in some kind of linear area where you can get multiple hits per shot. Of course, if you're playing with a team, I always like I like team play. I don't really like solo play. So if you're playing with a team, stay with your team. I mean, if they're not like set up in a hallway, just eat it. Just say, okay, I'm not gonna have the best run here, but don't run off on your own. Play with your team. But if your team is playing near a hallway or in a hallway, man, you're golden. So we're going to have the Acolyte coming, and we're also going to have Thraxus coming in like... Oh, and it's Malice too. So Malice is the most dangerous Acolyte. I have to stop shooting for a second. He's going to put a bubble on me. think it's on me. I'm going to roll. Yep, I left it there. So now it's safe to shoot. If I try to shoot with that bubble on me, I'll kill myself. Oh, okay, it's going to be pretty bad because we have Acolytes, we have Thraxes. We ran out of stacks. Killing a Thrax for a stack is not going to be too good. Keeping Malice up is not too good because he's going to eventually put that stupid thing on me again. Try to get me to kill myself. This is a nightmare situation. The Battacor should not be failing at 5 minutes, but I have a really hard situation here. I'm actually going to run and hit this life support. Malice is like the worst. Yeah, and he just teleported me too, so I can't even hit that life support. I really need to hit that. And I have the Malice bubble on me, so I can't shoot. I'll still kill myself. I'm gonna hit that. I'm going to try to kill the other Thrax as quick as possible. I might kind of get screwed over here. Really shitty situation. Got the Thrax down. Okay, let's get Malice down here. He put the bubble on me again. I probably need to go to the life supports, actually. I just hope that Malice follows me or dies from a slash proc. He does not have any slash procs on him. 7%, 6%. All right, let's see if we can stabilize here. I'm going to have to hit all 3 of these. Okay, now let's head back and, oh, not there. Where is it? There it is. There's my map. Head back and kill Malice and try to farm some of the little life supports because we're going to need to get the little yellow life supports to actually live here. Where are you, Malice? I don't want to keep you up. You're the most dangerous one. There he is. He's not dangerous because of the damage he does. He's dangerous because because of the damage you do. It doesn't matter if you're in a Naros with 10k health. He'll have you one-shotting yourself. All right, we got some yellow life supports there. It's nice. I'm going to try to keep moving in this direction so I can get to that other room with life supports. Lua enemies like to move very slowly for some reason. I don't know why. They like to fight each other even though they're all a corrupted faction. It confuses me. I mean, I know this produces radiation on alternate fires, but even without this weapon, when I'm using other weapons, they're always like having a friggin' brawl among each other. So they move super slow from one location to another. So I'm going to run here and hit this life support. Probably have to hit the other life support. At least enemies spawned in this room. That's not bad. Also, keep in mind, there are some like external ways to group enemies. So that could be really cool to be used on the Battacor. Like the Nautilus pet can group enemies. There's some abilities that can group enemies. That can make getting your 3 stacks a little bit easier. I don't know if it's worth it. Like, I don't know if I would purposely be trying to go for something to do that. Unless I didn't really have any other like better pet to use. But it could be something that would make it stronger. So yeah, we were able to stabilize. We'll get another set of Thraxes here.
Don't worry.
Let's see. We have a full stack. Bam.
I had just the
Yeah, that guy died really quick. So he got a full stack of that Sentient Barrage, and I had Hunter Munitions produce a slash proc. So that was like a one-shot kill on that guy. Without those things, though, it becomes very slow. So you're kind of like hoping and praying that Hunter Munitions blesses you with a slash proc. And it helps to be at a full 3 stack of Sentient Barrage. So, okay, 10 minutes, 500 kills. That's well above average. We also kind of expect in Lua to get a little bit less kills because you spend a lot of your time fighting bigger enemies like Thraxes. And that still did really good at 500. So that's above average. The average on Kuva Survival is about 400. And on Lua Conjunction, it's about the same at 400, but you kind of expect to get a little bit less, maybe like 350-ish, 300. But this one hit 500 and over for both of them, which is really good. And even on Kuva Survival, I was kind of running my mouth and like testing the weapon a few times. So I wasn't like super like trying to get max kills. But like Wanted said, and I agree with him completely, this weapon is a little bit clunky. Like you do have to get used to using it. It's not something you could just pick up and instantly be at like, max efficiency with it. So we'll go over the build one more time here. All right, so Battacor, it is a Corpus, like burst assault rifle. It's like half Corpus, half sentient. It's like sentient technology, I guess, or something. Go into the build here. Interesting things about the Battacor is that the primary fire has magnetic, and the secondary, or not secondary fire, but the alternate fire has radiation. If you want to put Riven on it, what mod would you remove? Probably Serration. Serration's probably the weakest mod on here. But it would also depend on what you got for a Riven. So, like, the crit chance is already... Well, I wouldn't say it's good enough, actually. If I got crit chance, I might even leave on all the crit chance crap on here. So, yeah, don't listen to that. But maybe, like, crit damage. If I got crit damage on my Riven, I might replace one of the crit damage mods. And, you would basically stay at the same crit damage, but then you would get the bonus of whatever the other positive things were on the Riven. But Serration's a really good slot to get rid of, because 165 is not that good. Like, you already get 360 from Primary Deadhead, so 165, Flat damage is sometimes poo-pooed on. It is really good, though. It increases the size of slash procs. It increases, like, the base of what criticals are, like, multiplied on. But you have 360 here instead of 165. So I'd probably do it over Serration. I think that's pretty much it for all like the things here. With the Sentient Barrage, this is what the build is basically like built around. Yeah, flat damage plus critical damage on the Riven. That would be great. Crit chance would also act like, even though you're at red crits already, you see that you jump around your crit tiers a lot. Like, even though technically, like, if you were just to look at the numbers, you're like, oh, this will always be in red crits. But it's not always in red crits, because not all of your shots are going to be a 3 stack of Sentient Barrage. Sometimes a stack of scope will fall off, or 2 stacks of scope will fall off. So even though, like, on paper, this weapon looks like it could maintain 100% red crit, like, in practice, it doesn't do that. You frequently jump from yellows and oranges to full oranges to oranges with reds to full reds. Like, so crit chance isn't bad either, because crit chance would just make it a little bit more consistent being in oranges and reds. So crit chance wouldn't be horrible either. Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot. Galvanized Scope for crit chance. Hunter Munitions to produce slash procs on criticals. Serration for flat damage. Critical Delay for crit chance. Vital Sense for crit damage. Bladed Rounds for some more crit damage. And then Sentient Barrage. This is what the build is basically all focused on. So your weapon has a little reticle. It's got those 3 ticks. And with Sentient Barrage, when you discharge from alternate fire, you have infinite body punch through. It no longer explodes. Doesn't matter, really. Each enemy hit will refill 1 charge. That's only a hit. So the alternate fire only has to hit to fill charges. The primary fire has to kill. And then when reaching a full charge so 3 ticks, it'll increase your critical chance and your critical damage of the next discharge by 300%. So anytime you go to shoot when you're at a full 3 charge, that's where you get that 300% crit and 300% damage. So just crazy amounts right there. But as you saw in the gameplay, you're not always at that full 3 charge. Like basic gameplay, I would say maybe like 1/3 of the time. If you could really dictate where you're fighting, like if you could stay in a hallway, you probably could almost have every shot be a full 3 charge. But in regular gameplay where you're moving around, maybe you're with a team, like you're not always going to have 3 enemies like lined up. I would say like on average, you're looking at maybe like 1 out of 3 shots being a full 3 charge. Then we're going for Agile Aim for the Exilis. There's nothing that's really good on this weapon for the Exilis. You don't really need much of these at all on this weapon. So you could even not have an Exilis if you want to be cheap and like save a Forma. You can just not even have like anything on here. I use Agile Aim because it lets me move a little bit quicker when I'm aiming in, and you are going to be aiming in with bladed rounds and scope for this weapon. But it's also not really super needed. So if you want to be cheap, you can just not even use an Exilis. Primary Deadhead I'm going to be using for the Arcane. It gives 3... So Deadhead and Merciless both give 360. Merciless has reload speed. Doesn't matter for this weapon. Deadhead has headshot multiplier, which is kind of okay, but it also doesn't really matter too much because the headshot multiplier on this weapon is doo-doo. It's like 1 times. So even the headshot multiplier doesn't really matter too much. And then the weapon recoil doesn't matter too much. The only reason I really picked Deadhead over Merciless is because Deadhead stacks last for 24 seconds. So they take longer to fall off. So there's less of a chance that your Deadhead stacks fall off. Whereas Merciless, you know, if you have a little bit of downtime, maybe you're like going... Like as you saw in like the Lua gameplay, I have to like run a little bit far to like hit a life support. Like the Deadhead stacks that last for 24 seconds, it probably won't fall off in that time. But Merciless stacks, I think it's like 8 or 12 seconds they last for. Like you're probably going to lose a few Merciless stacks. So that's why on this weapon I go with Deadhead. There's not really any other reason. The bonuses that Merciless and Deadhead provide are kind of meh on this weapon at best. So that is pretty much the Battacor. Oh, the other thing I said in the first talk through, and I'll do it again here, is, you know, as you notice, there's no elements on this weapon. And most of the time I run viral. But on this weapon, the primary fire, it's good enough. If you were to put the 260-60 mods to make viral, the primary fire goes to 40% status chance. And that's good enough to have viral. Like that, I would use viral on a 40% status chance weapon. That was an assault rifle. That was a quick firing weapon. But if you look at the alternate fire, the status chance only starts at 8%. And so with the 260-60 mods to make viral, you're only getting up to 17%. And keep in mind, the alternate fire is not a fast-firing assault rifle. It is a slow-firing charged weapon. And so that's a 17% chance to produce 1 viral proc on a slow weapon. And that's why I believe on this weapon, when you're focusing on the alternate fire, it's not warranted to use viral. And the other thing I wanted to talk about with this weapon, I don't know if I said it through the first talk through. So if you look at the bug reports for this weapon, or any weapon really, you can find out if galvanized aptitude is multiplicative or additive. And on this weapon, it's multiplicative. And most of the time, weapons where aptitude is multiplicative, aptitude is the way to go because aptitude is just amazing. You know, multiplicative, oh my goodness, it's like roar basically. Now, why aren't we using aptitude? Well, the first reason is because this is an alt-fire build, and the alt-fire, like we just said, has very low status chance. So the status chance is low. There's low chance that we're actually going to produce a status. So there's not going to be a lot of statuses on the target. And the other thing is this weapon doesn't have basic IPS. Like if you look, the alternate fire only has radiation, and the primary fire only has puncture and magnetic. Now, if you were to build this for a primary fire build, again, like we just said, 40% status on a primary fire is actually pretty decent. So if you were to, you know, go at viral here, and then you still have Hunter Munitions on, which is going to give you a slash proc, that would be 4 different elements. So if you were to build this, if you didn't have Sentient Barrage, for instance, and you're just using the primary fire of this weapon, then Galvanized Aptitude might be really good because it's a, it's multiplicative on this weapon. But for this build, we're not doing that. We're going to be focusing on the alternate fire. And on the alternate fire, this doesn't really have a place for it. So that is it there. I appreciate it again, Wanted, if you're still watching the stream, telling me that I had a black screen there. I had no idea. I was running my mouth for about like 8 minutes, not even knowing. Actually, longer than 8 minutes. So if you liked the video, give it a like, and I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much, and you guys have a good day. Bye.